Awesome. That was easy. .606 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Good morning, everybody. Brian here with you. Jake producing. We call it Mornings with Brian Haldane, and we are off and running on this Ash Wednesday morning. I hope your Mardi Gras was as fantastic as mine. Hope you had a wonderful and safe entire Mardi Gras season. But all that's over with now. Lent is upon us. We will buckle down and do the business at hand. Before I get started this morning, big thanks to Pam Matassa for filling in. Pamela Matassa stepping in yesterday, giving me the opportunity to take the fam down to New Orleans. She did a fantastic job. Also, side note, you picked the station up a lot further down I-10 than I ever thought. I mean, yesterday we were in Laplace before we started getting static. Might have to expand the outside in a little bit. But Pamela did a fantastic job. I got to hear a big chunk of the 6 and 7 o'clock hours. By 8 o'clock, we were already in front of St. Louis Cathedral, so we were ready to roll. Cool. Got a lot of ground to cover today. Attorney Franz Borghardt ran away from Mardi Gras. Franz did a little escapism there. And he is going to be on the phone for Legally Served, but nonetheless, we will have Legally Served today. Got a couple of topics to talk about within there. The Lozada case is interesting, but also along with that, which is going. Oh, and a state trooper is demoted after his actions with the LSU Tiger Band. But along with Franz doing Legally Served, he's also the host of the Go Rouge show, which highlights a number of great things that go on in Baton Rouge. And one of the topics that seems to come up every year but never really goes anywhere, and the Advocate had a story on it, and the Daily Report had a story on it. Headline from the Advocate, Baton Rouge has Mardi Gras parades, but why doesn't it have any on Fat Tuesday? Well, we'll talk with Franz a little bit about that. We've seen tremendous growth in Mardi Gras in recent years, with up to and including the crew of Mid-City Gras, whatever you want to call it. We'll cover all that in Legally Served at the bottom of the hour. Catherine Newman is our state archivist. Not quite done with Carnival just yet. They have their spring gala coming up. What is the state archivist? What? What do they do? We'll talk with Catherine at 7:15 about the spring gala, and it falls under the Secretary of State's office. Some pretty cool stuff to unpack there. We will have D.C. Current with Congressman Garrett, where we will no doubt unpack a little bit about what was said last night in the State of the Union. We will no doubt talk Ukraine. We will talk energy, maybe a couple of other things as well when Congressman Garrett Graves joins us at 7:35. Speaking of unpacking the State of the Union, CPA Gene Marks is going to join me at 8:15 for exactly that. And then we'll round things out with Hillar Moore. District Attorney Hillar Moore joins us for the first Wednesday of every month, and that would be today. Can't wait for this. We break down a number of different aspects of crime and projects that are going on that aim to curtail crime. So Hillar Moore at 8:35. Plus, we'll have top stories and trending. We'll have the outside in. Jake will have this day in history. I'll continue on the struggle bus to recover because that was just a long day yesterday. And maybe a little bit on the State of the Union. I'm not doing a whole lot on the State of the Union because, well, number one, yesterday was Mardi Gras Day. And don't think a whole lot of us were dialed into what the president was going to have to say that night. Number two, State of the Union felt like it was running late this year. Isn't that normally the last Tuesday of January? But number three, there wasn't a whole lot the president was going to say last night that isn't said on a day-to-day basis. I noticed this in the second half of the Obama administration and then every year of Trump's tenure as president, and it rang true last night as well. What are you going to get out of a State of the Union that you don't get every stinking day? Let's put a little poll question up on Twitter. Is the State of the Union necessary anymore? Constitutionally, it is. He shall from time to time update the Congress as to the State of the Union, the current State of the Union. But we don't live in a time where we have to have the president gather us up once a year to bring us up to speed on the goings-on of the country. We hear from the press secretary every single day. We hear from the president more often than anybody wants to. The State of the Union, to me, is a relic. And it's just an opportunity to have an overly drawn-out speech that's going to get nothing but criticism. It's not even a rallying point for the president's own party anymore, regardless of what party the president's in. Is it time we just did away with the State of the Union? I mean, technically, if the president wanted to, he could type out a 2-page memo that just says, "We good," and then has a graph on page 2. And hand that to Congress, and he has fulfilled his constitutional obligation. Is it time for the State of the Union? Let me know on YouTube. It's a good question to start the morning off on YouTube. If you're not watching us on YouTube, you need to be. Mornings with Brian Haldane. We're there live every single day on YouTube. Let me know if I got sunburn when you get there. So much sun yesterday. Is it time to be done with the State of the Union? Let us know. All right, we have to take a quick break. Check sports when we come back. Actually, before we take that break, I got to tell you, as much as I might be struggling this morning, I wouldn't even be here right now if it weren't for my mattress from the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. I hit that thing last night and just collapsed. Handed myself over to the comfort of the Sealy Beauty Rest Black Label mattress that I got from the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. If you've not yet gotten yours, you need to. 4065 Florida Boulevard is their mid-city location. That's the bigger of the two locations. That's where you're going to find a ginormous warehouse full of mattresses that you can just try out. I say warehouse. It's a showroom, but it's huge. And try out as many as you like. Find the proper firmness for you. Find what you're looking for to help you sleep at night. Or they've got the corner of Jefferson and Housatoo. Both locations of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, you're going to get the same great customer service, same great selection of mattresses, and better prices than you're going to find anywhere else in town. Mitch will back that up. 4065 Florida Boulevard or the corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2 for either location of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. Oh, God. Hey, morning, Christy. Yeah, I think my whole view of Mardi Gras yesterday being awesome was just because I got to hang out with my wife all day long. That don't happen ever. That doesn't happen ever. Okay. Oh. 617. Talk 1073 FM WBRP. We call it Mornings with Brian Haldane. It is sports time. It is time to start looking ahead to the NFL Combine. Oh, man. So, well, first of all, we're a couple weeks out from March Madness, so it'll be all eyes on that very, very soon. As of, today is Wednesday, so tomorrow we will shift our focus to the SEC Women's Basketball Tournament as LSU plays Friday evening, right? I'm pretty sure LSU plays Friday evening. I'm 90% sure they play Friday. They get the double bye. They get tomorrow Mississippi State plays, and then LSU will play the winner of whoever Mississippi State plays. Any Hoosiers for now. Let's take a little look ahead to the NFL Scouting Combine. It started yesterday. Several prominent LSU prospects looking to impress as the draft nears. The Tigers have 9 players up in Indianapolis this week for what NFL analyst Mike Detillier calls the Underwear Olympics, and he ain't wrong. One of those under the most scrutiny will be former cornerback Derrick Stingley Jr. Stingley's season ended early due to foot surgery. Now, he won't be taking part in the drills in Indianapolis, and Mike Detillier says Stingley will have an opportunity to prove his worth.
I do think that he'll still be a top 10 pick, but that pro day at LSU is going to be really important for him. So him not, running, doing the drills, so to speak, at the combine is one thing, but he's got to show up big at his pro day.
And, the combine has kind of become about as vital as the State of the Union. I mean, everybody's got their own pro day. So when you are a school the size of LSU, you know all the NFL scouts are coming back to your house. Why waste your time going to Indy? Anyway, Buckness Award finalist Damone Clark should draw plenty of interest as well. After collecting 114 tackles in his first 3 seasons in Baton Rouge, Clark had 135 for the Tigers, including 5.5 sacks, earned second-team All-American honors from multiple outlets. His nose for the football and his sideline-to-sideline ability has pushed his name well up draft boards.
I think he's a second-round pick. You'll get some variance on exactly where in round 2 he'll go, but linebackers that can cover are gold in this league.
The one I'm looking most forward to, seeing how well his draft stock improves, if it can improve at all, is kicker. I mean, it's not every day you have a kicker who's lined up to be in the draft, and LSU's in that spot this year, or Cole Tracy's in that spot this year. So the combine rolls on. They will still have pro day, I guess probably later this month, if not early next month, before leading up to April's draft. Let's take a quick break. We'll check the Fox Business Report. When we come back from the Fox Business Report, attorney Franz Borghardt will be on the hotline for Legally Served. All right, YouTube, let's see what's happening, y'all. Not today. No, we're going to run out of time. When I booked that interview, I didn't realize it was the first Wednesday of the month, and I didn't realize it was Hillar. So we'll play Rick back tomorrow. Which, there's no way I'm not playing him back. He was phenomenal. Former CIA agent. Oh, yeah, that's him. Yeah. Morning, Tiffany. Morning, Clint. Morning, Eric. Welcome in, y'all. Anybody ever tried that Nugenics stuff? We got a commercial on for it right now. I tried the ageless male just because I'm tired like all the time, right? And it didn't do anything. I don't know how that works. Like, I didn't know if Nugenics was somehow different or it didn't change anything, but I always smelled like syrup. Weirdest damn thing. Like, I think I'll get more out of my workouts. I won't be as tired by like 2 p.m. I was just every bit as tired as I was. I mean, maybe I didn't do it long enough. I didn't like smelling like syrup, that's for sure. Yeah. I'll find out. Yeah, I'll find out. Yes, it is time for Legally Served. Yes, it is time to welcome in Attorney Franz Borghardt. Franz, what's happening, man?
Happy Ash Wednesday, man! I'm like a country music song this morning. I'm heading back from Texas, watching the Texas sunrise. I mean, talking a little law. That's country music to me.
You're heading.
So good morning.
Yes, good morning. Well, first of all, thank you for hopping on the hotline this morning, because
not a problem.
It's
not a problem.
It is the normal legally served time, but you bailed on Mardi Gras.
Dude, there's nothing good for me in Mardi Gras. You've heard this rant from me before. Me and Mardi Gras just doesn't. It's not a good combo. So, but ready to talk law, Brian. Ready
Okay.
to talk law.
Well, then let's start with the state police trooper who was demoted. Headline from WBRZ: State police demote trooper over inappropriate partying with LSU Tiger Band. You might remember the story from, what was it? I guess it was just before the pandemic. Was it? Man. Louisiana State Police demoted a longtime sergeant with 2 decades on the force after their administrative investigation sustained findings that he violated numerous policies. In October, an LSU band member reported after the Mississippi State game that Thomas Noto gave band members alcohol and groped her. LSU immediately launched a Title IX investigation and alerted state police. During the investigation, State Police Colonel Lamar Davis says, quote, "This is extremely concerning for all of us. This impacts not only our agency, but it impacts our community and any potential victims. Anytime we have that, that's a major concern of mine." So, the violations were sustained for conformance to laws, use of intoxicants, conduct unbecoming, neglect of duty, and violating policies for escorts for athletic events. And he was removed as the band's escort as well. Let me start with this. Does this feel light to you?
So what's interesting is we kind of gloss over the inappropriate touching,
Oh,
right?
That's why it feels light.
Right. Well, I mean, if in fact there were inappropriate touching, that would be a crime. Everything else you're describing, I mean, it may be a crime, but it really is more policy issue, right? Like if you buy band members alcohol, well, if they're over the age of 21, it doesn't look good, but is that really a crime? Well, no. If you inappropriately touch someone, that just sounds horrible. So it depends on what lens you want to look at this situation. You know, if it were hey, I slap you on the butt, inappropriate touching, well, that's still a misdemeanor, but probably doesn't merit him getting fired. If it was like a full-on groping of another human being, well, that's a bigger question mark. Not a lot of details and facts here, but the fact that he's not fired, can we draw a conclusion, Brian, that it maybe wasn't as bad as it reads?
So if it's not as bad as it reads, then I have to ask, from Noto's standpoint, what were the circumstances surrounding this? Like, I don't know how to say this without being completely disrespectful and probably illegal, but can someone be baited into these actions? And you're still not supposed to cross that line anyway. But are there other circumstances that draw a muddier picture?
I would imagine the state police has a position that, look, if you're doing detail where you're escorting or providing security for the band, for the coach, for whomever, you are at that moment a state trooper, you know, and you need to abide by the code of conduct and the policies that come with that. So the scenario where it's like, hey, boys will be boys, and he's hanging out with the band members, and he got to be friends with them, and he was buying them booze. That just doesn't look good. It doesn't really look good. It's bad optics. But what's interesting again is he's not being criminally prosecuted.
Is that just a matter of there's not enough there at all, or is that a matter?
Well, it could be that the survivor / victim of the inappropriate touching, and I use that word very carefully.
Yeah.
May have said, enough's enough. I'm satisfied with what the university has done. I'm satisfied with what the state police has done, and I'm good. I'm not trying to destroy a career here over an quote unquote inappropriate touching, which in 2022 we destroy careers over inappropriate touching all the time.
We destroy careers over inappropriate tweets all the time. So this would be merciful to say the least, but is okay. So that leaves us in a weird spot where if someone is being merciful in that regard, it opens up the question of, well, what did he actually do? Like, if you're not going to prosecute, if you're not going to go after him, then did he even do anything, or is he being hung out to dry as an example to others?
Well, I think it's important to note he has a right to, if I'm not mistaken, Brian, he has a right to appeal this decision of demotion.
Yes.
Which does have an economic impact. I mean, if you get demoted, that's less money in your pocket towards your retirement. So he has a right to challenge it. He may not if he doesn't feel like he needs to. But, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how severe or how bad what really happened is. But look, bottom line is right now, state police is having a terrible optics issue.
Well, and that's the other part of this. But that's the part we're going to have to pick up when we get back from break, though, because we are coming up to CBS News. And I did want to pick that up. Can one particular case get lost in the shuffle of all the other cases? When you think about where you are with state police right now, I'm going to drop you on hold, Franz, so you can hear the whole thing during break as well. When you are state police and you have this overall optics problem, can the Ronald Green case spill over into other cases just to be protective of the brand? We'll pick that up next right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Let me go see if we got a traffic problem. Oh, Nelly. Eric says Iranians kicking ass. Bro. So that quote right there where the president said Iranian instead of Ukrainian, Because Russia's invading Ukraine, not Iran. I know. But that right there is another example as to why do we need the damn State of the Union? I mean, I would rather watch the meeting of the courts. LSU's going to get housed tonight. Yeah, you're leaving again? Where are you going? Yeah, I think that last day I'm going to be on location. So, yeah, Monday I'm doing my show from the Pelican Institute Solutions Summit. You were asking me about the whiskey and wine kit yesterday. What did you need it for? Okay. Is it back where it was? Because I'm using it on Monday. Okay. Yeah, I know a jetpack. Yeah. Yes, I will. Yeah, I've never had to use the jetpack. The air cards are for the Comrex, yeah. No, I plugged in the Ethernet for the Okay. Yeah. Well, no, that's kind of like since I'm not required to go out on location, and I'm trying to build this as a mobile product, whatever. That's Ethernet. I'm just saying if I'm going out, I need to have Ethernet there. That's the requirement. Because God knows the product isn't good enough for us to have to sacrifice technical quality. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I was told that there was another accident on I-10 and has since cleared. So we should be good with traffic. And she just uploaded another one. I'll do it at the no, I'll break at 46 here. All good. Huh. Morning, T-Bob. Hey, Capital City. 637 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Legally served with attorney Franz Borghardt rolling right along as well. All right, Franz, as we were going into the break, we were asking the question about there's no proper way to phrase this, so let's just say protecting the brand. Can this case get lost in the wash of other cases when the same outfit is involved?
Well, I think every case is going to be lost in the shuffle now on a national level and a local level. On a national level, we scrutinize what law enforcement do, and on a local level, we've seen a head of the state police come out and say, "Hey, we did things wrong." So I don't know that we shouldn't be shocked about it, right? I think what you're calling brand might be called the integrity of the agency.
Same thing. Yeah.
And yeah. I mean, and I don't mean that anyway. I mean, they've got to make decisions now. It's like we've talked about this before. When any pendulum swings to the extreme and you're trying to ride it, it swings to the other extreme to get itself right. And does that mean that in this case, with this trooper and the LSU band, you know, were they overly severe and took action they wouldn't normally do, or were they willing to kind of quickly and quietly, and it wasn't really quiet, you know, settle it to where at least it appears that everybody's okay with it?
And the tough part there is finding justice within a pendulum swinging, because individual justice gets wrapped up in the wash of overall justice. Like, collateral damage is not justice.
Well, and look, nobody would equate partying with a LSU band and possibly an inappropriate touching without context. So it could be like I said earlier, it could be a grope, it could be a slapping, it could be a kissing the person on the cheek. We don't know. Nobody's going to equate that as the same thing as a excessive force shooting, where there is someone who dies. Those are not in the same ballpark. So, you know, I don't know that this is a case of this gets lost in the shovel in a good way or a bad way. But it looks like there was transparency. It looks like they investigated it. The survivor / victim themselves said, "Hey, you know, I just wanted LSU to do something, and I'm satisfied that LSU has done this." So, I mean, it looks like this is a put a pin in it kind of situation.
Okay. I mean, and look, I'm not expecting us to hear about his appeal at all. He has the right to appeal. I'm not expecting us to hear about that at all, because those never make the news cycle anyway. So,
right
where it's at right now is, I think, from a public perspective, basically where it's going to conclude. I mean, regardless of what happens on appeal.
Yeah.
So, all right.
And he may have someone. And by the way, he may have somebody advising him, saying, "Hey, dude, you got very lucky. You need to shut up and just take it."
Well, and so can we talk about that without having to address the idea that it's a weird spot if you're escorting college kids, because college kids are of legal age, and we don't know the he said, she said therein. So we approach it from he's escorting kids, but everybody on that trip is over 18 or over. Where it comes to alcohol, you're going to be 21 or over, but the rest of it, it's a weird spot, because legally they're often adults. Yeah.
I would imagine LSU views it as he's in a position of authority over these students.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether he actually is or not, that would be the view. And if you're in a position of authority, there are certain optic issues that come with that. There are certain, you know, you shouldn't party with, you know, if a college professor was partying with a class, you know, and we would probably look at this in a similar way, right? It doesn't, the optics don't look right. Even if they're all consenting adults, it just doesn't look right, you know? And we're in a Title IX firestorm at LSU as it stands, to where LSU has already demonstrated historically that they're not great at enforcing Title IX claims. So, again, you have the pendulum scenario where, you know, now look, from an LSU standpoint, the solution is you can't escort the band anymore. We need somebody else.
Right. Which, that to me, that's the no-brainer in the whole thing, for sure. But the rest of it is this trooper now has his name dragged through the mud, and we're never going to know how worthy he is of that. And, yeah, I didn't even think about protecting the brand from the LSU standpoint and Title IX. I was thinking from the state police standpoint. So this guy's got it coming up from two
Right.
different sides. Where just
Well,
it
that
is
is what we're alluding to is the nexus between what is the just and fair thing to do versus what is the thing that is necessary to protect the brand or the integrity of the university, the integrity of the agency, and sadly, those two things don't always align.
Attorney Franz Borghardt is our guest. This is Legally Served. We do this every single Wednesday, though not normally on I-10 eastbound. As Franz is making his way, I assume you're on 10. Where you went to Dallas
I'm
or
on
Houston?
20, baby.
Oh, you're on
I'm
20. You're way up
520.
there. All right, way up
Yeah,
north,
I left
man.
early this morning. I'm back.
All right. So Franz will be back in town later on today, God willing, and we normally do Legally Served this time every single week, so I appreciate you hopping on board. Franz, let's talk about Oscar Lozada for a minute and how much evidence it takes to convict someone of murder. Oscar Lozada is accused of killing his former wife, Sylviane Lozada, a Bruley High School teacher. And authorities have said Oscar Lozada went to Lowe's Home Improvement with a couple's 4-year-old daughter on July 6th of 2011, purchased 15 bags of concrete mix, 9 5-gallon buckets with lids, and luggage locks. He returned to Lowe's the next day and bought 6 large plastic bins as well. He says that's the only evidence against him is the shopping trip. As a defense attorney, I know you would say this isn't nearly enough to do anything, but is there more to this?
So you can convict someone with circumstantial evidence, and you got to look towards, as a defense attorney, of course, I'd say, look, this guy may go shopping at Lowe's all the time. It doesn't mean anything, right? I don't know what Oscar does for a living, but if Oscar is, and this is not me being stereotypical or being any way, let's say he does construction work. Well, getting a whole bunch of stuff from Lowe's is not unfathomable.
Right.
If I went to Lowe's 2 days in a row and bought all that stuff, you'd be like, I know Franz ain't laying concrete.
Well, okay.
So, I mean, circumstantial evidence can be used to convict someone.
Okay, then let's walk down it this way. I don't do construction for a living, but if I wanted to pour a concrete slab in my backyard to, I don't know, put up a basketball goal or whatever so the kids can have a place to shoot in the backyard, whatever. Like, do I have to justify my actions on a trip to Lowe's?
So I think the issue is this. If you're doing a DIY or you're doing a work-related trip to Lowe's, it should be pretty easy to justify that, right?
Yeah.
Like if you do construction for a living or if you're doing a project at the house, it should be easy for you to show, hey, this is where I'm going to pour the concrete, and this is where I took out the tree, and this is this. And even though the defendant doesn't have a burden to show anything, in a circumstantial evidence case, if in fact that's all they have, if in fact all they have is circumstantial evidence.
Right.
Wait,
we got to pause here, and this is where I want to pick it up because I asked that question very, very intentionally. So, dropping you back on hold. Let's check traffic. Let's check your money now. Coming back on Talk 107.3. Excuse me. Morning, Kevin. Tiffany says, I've been waiting for this trial. I'm going to assume because you want to see justice served and not some obsession with true crime. Tiffany. Tiffany says, right, where's the concrete? Where are the bins? And that's exactly why I asked that question. If I go to Lowe's and buy 15 bags of concrete, you could walk in my backyard and see where I poured the concrete. Like, to me, that's a no-brainer. That's very, very easy. You bought 15 bags of concrete, 15 buckets with the lids, blah, blah, blah. All right, fine. Where are they? Well, you bought them a decade ago. Okay, well, what'd you use them for? And Franz was talking about work in construction. Bless you. Franz was talking about work in construction. There are many intricacies therein as well. If you work electrical, you're not buying concrete. If you put in roofs, you're not buying concrete. If you handle plumbing, you're not buying concrete. If you do sheetrock, Like, you see where I'm going? Like, there's a million different ways you could work construction without doing concrete. There's a million reasons to be in Lowe's. Oh, God knows we could walk around the Lowe's for hours on end. Christy and I can walk around Lowe's for hours on end, dreaming up projects that we're never, ever, ever going to do. Wow, I went a little Dave Ramsey into that. But that's the whole point, is you bought, you didn't buy something that can, you bought concrete. Like, it leaves evidence behind. Oh, Major League Baseball delays opening day. Cool. Let me do my Hope Ministries before you play the bump. I was supposed to do it at 46, but we weren't at a breaking point yet. I don't think we have a promotions meeting today. Hey, I haven't gotten many comments on the State of the Union question. In fact, I haven't gotten any over here. I got a ton of them over there on Twitter. I should just put up a poll question. You have to vote on Twitter. Is it time to retire the State of the Union? It's an antiquated form of communication. It is meant to address it's meant to give the president the opportunity to address the nation. We hear from the president or the president's press secretary literally every single day. Literally every single day. Mississippi State plays Kentucky on Thursday. LSU plays the winner of that game on Friday. Okay. Oh, snap, 6 p.m. All right, well, I guess I'm going to have to tell Franz that there's no Go Rouge, or we got to find another spot for him. Yeah, we'll figure something out. Colton says, are there certain permits needed to pour concrete for certain things? Just curious because I don't know. Yeah, there are permits, sure. If you're building something up or covering like stuff that's underground. Oh, Tiffy says this happened when I was working at the crisis center. I was one of the counselors called in to be on campus when the students returned when she was missing. Whoa. So you would be dialed in on this. All right. Business leaders, are you feeling the pinch of Louisiana's workforce crisis? A lot of folks are. Fred Keller, founder and chair of Cascade Engineering, changed how he managed his workforce, bringing retention rates from 34% to 97%. Employees got off welfare. Companies' profits increased. It was a win-win. Fred is going to be in Baton Rouge for the Rise LA Business and Industry Luncheon March 22nd. Learn his strategy. Work with other leaders. Make your own strategy that's right for your company. The journey begins at risela.biz. Rise LA. We all rise together. .652, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Attorney Franz Borghardt, eastbound and down on I-20 right now. Franz, back to the Oscar Lozada case. If I work in construction, there are a million different areas within construction that I need to work in. And if I buy 15 bags of concrete, wouldn't it be really, really easy for me to say, there's where I poured my concrete? Like, that's something that's very tangible that's left over afterwards.
So circumstantial evidence never exists in a vacuum. And by that I mean, okay, he could do construction work. Okay, did he call the police when she became missing for a period of time? You know, like a concerned spouse.
Right.
Did he abscond? Did he abscond and have to be tracked down? It's never just, hey, he went to Lowe's and bought this stuff. It's always other pieces of circumstantial evidence that collectively put together can supply a jury with enough evidence to say, hey, this doesn't look right. Now, again, you need, in a murder case, you need to be able to prove that somebody killed somebody else.
Right.
So a whole bunch of suspicious behavior, is that enough? I don't know.
It's that question of when it crosses the threshold. When does it go from circumstantial to being able to point the finger? And honestly, as a criminal defense attorney, Franz, how easy is it to poke through circumstantial evidence?
So again, it depends on that vacuum I referenced. If really the only evidence they have is a trip to Lowe's to buy stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's a hole that's easily poked, so to speak. Oh, that's not horrible.
Right.
If there is a bunch of smaller pockets of circumstantial evidence, like, hey, she was missing for how long, and you never thought to call anybody, you never thought to do anything affirmative, you went where after a certain amount of time, that becomes problematic. Because what that shows is, arguably, that shows guilty intent.
Yeah.
And maybe not guilty intent to kill, but guilt, like if you're acting in self-defense in a case, you don't want to flee the crime scene because why? It makes you look like you did something wrong, even if you didn't do something wrong.
Well, that doesn't play well in Lozada's favor either, because he was arrested after spending more than 7 years in Venezuela. So if you're fleeing the crime scene, you've kind of let's not bury the lead here.
Problematic. Like, buddy, where you been for 7 years? Why'd you leave? Were you worried about her? Were you about her? Did you police that she was missing for all these years? Like it's a pocket of again, no direct evidence, just a bunch of circumstantial, but that bunch of circumstantial can lead to conclusions.
Right.
And by the way,
yes.
Before we go,
what?
Just keep in mind, DNA evidence is by definition circumstantial evidence.
Really?
So circumstantial evidence, it doesn't show what you did, it just shows what? That you were around whatever happened.
Well, okay.
Not direct evidence. So circumstantial evidence can be very powerful.
Well, especially when you talk about something like this happened, or her blood was found at their home. Well, I mean, that was their home. So ceiling and walls, a little bit weird, but it was their home. Got about 2.5 minutes left with attorney Franz Borghardt. Franz, there's no way I'm not asking you this question. I know you bailed on the city because you escaped Mardi Gras. But as the host of Go Rouge, let's take off your criminal defense attorney hat and put on the host of Go Rouge hat. Should Baton Rouge have a Mardi Gras Day parade?
So I've been thinking a lot about this. Is the fact that we don't have a Mardi Gras Day parade because of New Orleans and because of we don't want to, quote-unquote, compete with what's going on there? Or I don't know the reason why we don't have – honestly, Brian, if we have it on all the other weekends and days, I don't know why we wouldn't have one on Tuesday.
I'm always of the opinion, well, why do we have to? Like from my end, it's more along the lines of you're not going to do anything as big and over the top as New Orleans. Metairie is already established as very family friendly. I learned firsthand that the French Quarter can be family friendly as well. We did that yesterday, our own little parade and up and down the quarter, and it was an absolutely wonderful time. Or if you want to go westbound from here and chase chickens, that's already established as well. So if you were to try to, in 2022, create your own Mardi Gras Day experience in Baton Rouge, you're going to be fighting an uphill battle because at this point, everybody who's got their routines is already in their routines. So do we really need to try and force feed something when everybody's already going elsewhere?
I think you'd have to do a Tuesday parade. I think you'd have to have more than one.
Okay.
Or you'd have to have one really, really big one. And I don't know that we can sustain that. Like, we can't. Endymion's not a thing that would work in Baton Rouge.
No.
Think about how Endymion. Yeah.
The number of parts of the city it traverses, that can't happen.
Yeah, and essentially, for the most part, all the Baton Rouge parades are either downtown or in mid-city.
Right, they're centralized.
With the exception of Sundown. Yeah, I mean, so whereas I don't know that I agree that we shouldn't want to be a better version of New Orleans or any of those places, I just don't know that. I don't know that you're wrong necessarily. We've got some great parades though. I mean, just because Mardi Gras is not my flavor of vodka, it doesn't mean it's not. We have some great parades.
Well,
so I don't know the answer to that question.
All right, we can pick it up at another time. He's attorney Franz Borghardt. Drive safe, brother. We'll see you soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Later. We got a break for CBS News. We ran long there. Here we go. CBS. So I firmly believe that Baton Rouge should not have a Mardi Gras Day parade. However, what's the big Halloween party? If you could have some kind of block party develop into something, you don't have to parade for Mardi Gras. It's a celebration, bitches. It's a celebration. So celebrate. Parades are one thing, sure. But if you could have some kind of, and watch this happen, tailgate, block party, tailgate party, just a coming together of festivities with absolutely no purpose on the back end. Like if you want a parade, you already know what you're doing. If you want to chase chickens, you already know what you're doing. You got it. I'm fine with retiring the State of the Union address. Most times it's just a glorified nationally televised platform for the president to try to make themselves look better. And they all do it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, just because there's a Democrat in the White House right now does not change the take, because it's not an updating as to the State of the Union as much as it is a pep rally. Galen says there's more evidence than the shopping trip, co-conspirators for one. Well, and that's why I brought up he fled town, or he fled the country for 7 friggin' years. Can we talk about the New Roads parades? That blows my mind. There are 2 separate parades. Go New Roads, man. All the breweries could host a tailgate. See? Great idea. Yes, New Roads is tiny, and they have 2 parades. Both of them decent. No. Not that I'm aware of. That press conference when he was brought back to the state was beautiful. Yeah, I remember that one. Also, didn't authorities search at Bayou and Gonzales for Lozada's remains? Where did that tip come from? I don't know. I don't remember that one. But, so this is one of those ones where it's going to be difficult to talk about the case because we all assume he's guilty. So I don't believe last year we were having Mass yet. I don't remember getting. Did I get my ashes last year on Ash Wednesday? I think, was Mass still shut down? Were we still virtual? I'm completely lost in the timeline right now.
The vaccine came out for elderly and senior citizens around January or February.
November. It was November of 2020. Yes. Yes. I had my first shot by April. So, and I waited a long time. I felt like I was waiting forever. You know what? If only I were married to somebody who works in a church that could tell me straight up whether or not. Mathurns? Okay. 706 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Thanks again to attorney Franz Borghardt for hopping on for Legally Served. Excuse me. Had a lot of ground to cover there. We've got a lot of ground to cover this hour. You heard excerpts or clips or bites or whatever from the State of the Union within our CBS World News Roundup. Not a whole lot about the State of the Union on this show this morning. We are going to unpack it. CPA Gene Marks is going to join me in the 8 o'clock hour. Kind of a Republican response, if you will. I know there was already the official Republican response, but we're in an energy state. We're in an oil and gas state. We've seen a bone thrown our way when it comes to reducing gas prices, but fundamentally, a lot more has to be done. A lot more has to be done. And it all ties in with the impact that Russian energy provides for our country and how far we're willing to go to cut that off while at the same time keeping prices low here, while at the same time keeping people employed here, and where that takes us. Gene Mark's going to join us at 8:15. So next hour, we will unpack a little bit of the State of the Union. with Congressman Garrett in our D.C. Current segment at 7:35. Also this hour, we're going to chat with our state archivist, Catherine Newsome, over to the Secretary of State's office, the state archivist. They've got their state archives has their spring gala coming up, and we're going to chat about it a little bit right here. So this Louisiana State Archives is a division of the Louisiana Secretary of State's office. Their spring gala, Mystery of the Archives, is coming up March 6th, so this Sunday. And it's a cool event, and the State Archives, if you appreciate our state's history, is just fantastic as well. This year there will be a bit of a focus on New Orleans for sure, but we're going to talk about we're on the heels of Mardi Gras Day. It's going to be a lot about Carnival. So that's coming up in our next segment. 60 seconds from right now, we've got top stories and trending, which is enough time for me to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's. So close the book on Carnival season. I don't think they've got any more king cakes left. Y'all did such a good job of making sure king cakes were brought to the office all Mardi Gras season, which is going to play well into me telling you about Ghost Slam later on. Wink, wink. But the Lenten season is here, which in Louisiana means crawfish bowls and fish fries. Mathern's has got you covered on both ends. Also got you covered if you're tailgating for LSU baseball with the Nicholson Drive location. Yes, headed out to Alex Box Stadium, throwing up a little bit of tailgate as well. Mathern's is right there in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. We told you all football season about how they're your tailgate headquarters. We told you all Mardi Gras season about how they're your parade-going headquarters. Well, the same applies for LSU baseball. Baseball right up the road, Alex Box Stadium. Stop off for all your necessities at Mathern's. They are right across the street from Tiger Stadium in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. Of course, the downtown location has you covered as well on 3rd Street. Full-service grocery store. Download the app. Get your grocery shopping done before you leave work. Pull in the parking lot. They bring it to you. It's just that simple. Downtown on 3rd, Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. Both locations have you covered at Mathern's. Time for top stories and trending. Let's go. An apartment fire that displaced a mother and her 2 children started in the home's bedroom, according to fire officials. Baton Rouge Fire Department said it started in an apartment on Rodan Drive shortly after 5 p.m., was contained by 5:40 p.m. Fire officials said a mother and her 2 children were home at the time of the fire, but able to escape the apartment safely. We talked about this in our Legally Served segment. Louisiana State Police demoted a longtime sergeant with 2 decades on the force after their administrative investigation substantiated findings that he violated numerous policies. Back in October, an LSU band member reported after the Mississippi State game that Thomas Noto gave band members alcohol and groped her. LSU immediately launched a Title IX investigation and alerted state police. State police sustained the following violations against Noto: conformance to laws, use of intoxicants, conduct unbecoming, neglect of duty, and violating policies for escorts for athletic events. Noto will also be removed as the LSU band's escort. A district court judge ruled Monday that a lawsuit challenging the incorporation of St. George will go to trial beginning May 2nd. The trial date was officially set after Judge Martin Cody denied a motion for summary judgment filed by plaintiffs Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome and Councilmember Lamont Cole during a Zoom hearing Monday afternoon. We're going to have plenty of time to unpack this one as the trial nears. A person was injured after a car crashed on Choctaw Drive near Sheldon Drive, and gunshots were fired, Baton Rouge Police said. BRPD spokesman Sergeant L. Gene McNeely said the person is expected to survive. It wasn't immediately clear whether that person was injured in the crash or by the gunfire. The investigation is ongoing. A man was reportedly caught in the act while stealing guns from a Baton Rouge home, then used a stolen vehicle to strike a person who tried to stop him. Arrest records say 24-year-old Jamarius Stewart and at least one other person were stealing the firearms from a house on Jackson Avenue Sunday when a relative of the homeowner pulled up outside. That person spotted a suspicious vehicle in the driveway and called the homeowner to see if anyone was supposed to be at the home. When the man saw Stewart and the other thief leaving with the weapons, he followed the car onto North Foster in his own vehicle. Shots were reportedly fired from both vehicles during the pursuit. At some point, the man pulled over, stepped out of his vehicle. He was reportedly struck by Stewart's car, which police later confirmed was also reported stolen. After running over the man, police said the other suspect got out of Stewart's car and stole the victim's gun and vehicle. The two thieves fled the area, each driving one of the two stolen vehicles. By the way, police later caught Stewart at a gas station on Airline. Those are your top stories. Here's a look at what's trending this morning. All 31 member countries of the International Energy Agency have agreed to release 60 million barrels of oil from their strategic reserves, half of them from the United States, to send a strong message to oil markets that there will be no shortfall in supplies after Russia invaded Ukraine. The board of the Paris-based IEA made that decision at an extraordinary meeting of energy ministers chaired by U.S. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm. She said in a statement that President Joe Biden approved a commitment of 30 million barrels and that the U.S. is ready to, quote, take additional measures if needed. Russia, of course, plays a pretty huge role in global energy markets, third largest oil producer. 5 million barrels of crude per day come out to about 12% of the global oil trade. Some 60% goes to Europe, another 20% out to China. So far, U.S. and European sanctions have not barred oil or gas exports and have included exceptions for transactions to pay for oil and gas. Western leaders are reluctant to restrict Russian oil exports at a time when global energy markets are tight and high prices are fueling inflation in developed economies. Those are your top stories and trending. We are late for a break. Coming back, talking with State Archivist next.
Picture this. You're trying to find someone or buy something and you click on their website, but it takes
Oh, sheesh.
load and looks, well, horrible. So what do you do? Probably move on. If you're concerned that that just described your website, you should call us. We're GatorWorks.
How do you choose the right attorney? I give you the answers at MurphyLawFirm.com. Don't allow insurance companies to take advantage of you. Make the right decision. Don't leave money on the table. Visit MurphyLawFirm.com or call me, Attorney Peyton Murphy, at 928-8800. Main office, Baton Rouge.
Did we not have a State of the Union last year? I don't remember having one. Because the president was, the inauguration was what, January 20th? The State of the Union normally falls around that time. But I don't think he had one in 2021. He had it, well, no. He did have a speech to the joint session of Congress, but that was like towards the end of April? I don't know. Well, (7:17) at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. So the Spring Gala, Mystery of the Archives, is coming up. This is the Friends of the Louisiana State Archives presenting their inaugural Spring Gala. Joining us now to talk about it is our state archivist, Catherine Newsome. Catherine, good morning. Welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Brian. I really appreciate it.
No, glad to have you on here, even more so to have you on the day after Mardi Gras, as that's going to intertwine with what we're talking about. But let's start off with your office, and which I'll handle. What does the State Archivist do?
So the State Archives is a division of the Louisiana Secretary of State's office. So Secretary Ardoin and I partner with agencies throughout the state of Louisiana. We are the permanent repository for government records for the state of Louisiana, and we also regulate records management practices for over 4,000 state and local agencies.
So within Louisiana, I know that sounds it sounds tedious, but this is Louisiana we're talking about here. There is a lot of ground to cover that has been quite colorful throughout the years, correct?
That's right, it's for sure. And we're trying to spice it up by doing something fun at the archives to bring awareness to what we do at the Secretary of State's office and at the Louisiana State Archives. So that's why we're partnering with our friends to have this spring gala.
Well, tell us all about the spring gala. There's definitely a focus on New Orleans and on Carnival. Why are we looking at that at this time?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the pandemic and pausing of Mardi Gras for the last couple of years, we really have a great collection of Mardi Gras materials at the archives, and we partnered with several other agencies, crews, and community groups, cultural organizations to really bring back Mardi Gras with a bang. And we've been wanting to do an inaugural gala. We thought this was a great topic. The reason why we chose the theme Mystery of the Archives is we want to invite the community to come in to the archives and not only experience our current exhibit, which is called Masquerade, the Traditions of New Orleans Mardi Gras, but to see the exhibit in a light that they wouldn't otherwise get to see. So at the Spring Gala, not only will guests enjoy the Michael Foster Project Band, lots of live entertainment, hors d'oeuvres, cocktails by Sugar-Filled Spirits, but we will actually have several of our donors and exhibitors there to do live performances. So it's going to be an interactive exhibition of this exhibit, unlike anything that our community has seen.
Yesterday, as Rex rolled through New Orleans, it would mark the 150th Rex. How old do some of these artifacts and items of Carnival? What's the oldest piece in the show? How far back does this date?
So in celebration of Rex, we do have some ducal medallions on display. Our oldest medallion is from 1878, but we're celebrating not only the traditional old line crews, the ball crews, and the parading crews, but we are celebrating all different aspects of New Orleans tradition up to our newer crews like Crew of Bread Beans and others that came about in the pandemic. So people will see everything from early Mardi Gras traditions to cultural exhibitions through the 80s, 90s, and even 2020.
These artifacts, do they all come from the Archives collection?
So our archives collection is really extensive as it relates to particularly some photography that we unveiled from our Trice collection and John Gascade, who are two famous Louisiana photographers. But we also partnered with noted historian Arthur Hardy, the Kern family of Mardi Gras World, Louisiana State Museum. Really, our exhibit curator, Angie Cinquamano, partnered throughout Louisiana to bring over 300 actually, artifacts to our facility and put them on display for this exhibit. So you don't have to go to New Orleans, and at the Archives, Mardi Gras isn't quite over yet. So come and see us.
It's coming up Sunday, March 6th from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Louisiana State Archives over there on Essen Lane. For tickets, the website, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble reading on my sheet here. What's the website for tickets?
So to get tickets, you can either call us at 225-922-1000 and ask about the gala, or you can go to Eventbrite and just put in the keyword Spring Gala Mystery of the Archives, and you can buy tickets there. We really wanted to make this a community event, so the tickets are quite reasonably priced. Don't think, traditional New Orleans Mardi Gras ball prices. These are very affordable because we really want this to be open to the entire community.
Absolutely. And the proceeds go to help help how?
So the Friends of the Louisiana State Archives is a nonprofit that helps benefit the archives through sponsoring community events. They also purchase different equipment for the state archives and support staff in ways that sometimes our agency cannot.
So a focus on Mardi Gras for the inaugural. Were there other suggestions thrown out there that might come up in future galas?
So the gala is always going to be in the spring, and it's always going to have a theme of Mystery of the Archives. And each year it will be an exhibition of whatever our current exhibit is. We do have some things in the work for next year, but I don't want to spoil it. But know that each year as you come, it will be a live interaction with our current exhibit, and it will be something that if you come on a normal weekday to see the exhibit, you would not get to experience. And, of course, everybody in Louisiana loves to have food and beverage. So,
well, yeah, that one's a given right there. We're talking with our state archivist, Catherine Newsome. Catherine, getting back to some of the items that are going to be at this one, what's a few of the surprises? What's some of the ones we wouldn't expect?
So we have some features from the Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club, which are fantastic headpieces. Also, we're featuring the crews of Iris and Venus and Muses. So those ladies' crews always have great throws, and we have some of those on display. But I think my favorite is really the life-size pieces that we got from Kern Mardi Gras World. So you will feel like you're on a float when you come to the archives.
Very cool stuff. Now, if obviously we're looking to have folks out for the gala on the 6th, but if they're not available on the 6th, will these items be available for viewing beyond that?
Yes. So the exhibit runs through the whole Lenten season, so it's going to be available Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 at our archives through April 14th. And then we have two other opportunities besides the gala on Sunday. We are open the first Saturday of each month, so that's this Saturday actually, and then the first Saturday in April. That's from 9 to 5.
And this is over at the archives. I repeat that just because it shouldn't be confused with the State Museum, correct?
That's right. The archives on Essen Lane in front of the Secretary of State's office, the big building that you see with all the flagpoles right there on Essen at the approach for I-12.
Catherine Newsome. We've got Catherine Newsome for another minute or two, because I've got to shift over to talk about where we led off the interview, talking about the Office of the State Archives, because in Louisiana, our history is just a little bit different. It covers a lot more ground. What's been your favorite part about holding down this gig?
I really enjoy the deep dive into public records law. A lot of Louisianians don't understand how important it is that the archives is protecting people's rights to have access to records. And without the Department of Records Management, History, and Archives, which was created by the legislature in 1956, people might not have as much access as they do today.
It's coming up Sunday, March 6th, 2 to 5 p.m. is the Spring Gala Mystery of the Archives, 922-1000, 922-1000 for ticket information. In the meanwhile, Catherine, thank you so much for hopping on board today.
Thank you. I hope to see everyone there.
Yes, absolutely. It's putting a button on Mardi Gras season, putting a button on Carnival season overall, with Mardi Gras Day wrapping up yesterday. But the fun and festivities can continue at least through Sunday over at the State Archives. So I appreciate her time this morning. All right, State of the Union was last night, and we're going to dive in here in just a minute. But before we do you have lunch plans yet? If you don't, let me throw this out there: Mooyah burgers, fries, and shakes. Now, a lot of folks like to fast on Ash Wednesday, myself included, so I will not be going to Mooyah today, but best believe I'll be craving one by tomorrow, right? When you swing by Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes, either location, Bluebonnet and Highland, or Segan just north of Industriplex, what you're going to find there is the best dadgum burger in Baton Rouge. Whether you're grabbing one from the Wall of Dang, that's their special burger, their specialty burger every single month, or grabbing off the menu, or building your own from within their menu, you're going to get certified Angus beef, you are going to get fresh cut vegetables, you are going to get freshly baked potato buns, and you are going to get service that's beyond compare, so much so that you will want to ring the bell on the way out the door to let them know what a good job they did. Both locations of Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes have got you covered, and now is as good of a time as any for me to remind you, download the Mooyah app. You can start earning rewards towards free burgers, free fries. In fact, you get a free order of fries just for downloading the dadgum app. You get rewards on your birthday. You get rewards when you're in there, and they have different specials and promos throughout the year as well. It's Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. So President Joe Biden addressed the nation last night, and I'm asking this question on YouTube, and I'm asking this question on Twitter, and I want your feedback on either outlet. Either just answer my poll question on YouTube or hop on. Answer my poll question on Twitter or hop on and comment on YouTube. Is it time to retire the State of the Union address? I get the constitutional purpose of the State of the Union. I get that there's a legitimate reason that we started this. But when you look at things from the Constitution that are outdated, how outdated is this? in order to get to the State of the Union, there are multiple, and I mean multiple press conferences about attendees, topics. You don't get verbiage, except that everyone has a speech released to them that's embargoed until the speech starts. But there's a daily press briefing at the White House that you could see on C-SPAN. And if anything at all is happening in the news, and quite honestly, when has anything at all not been happening in the news, if anything at all is happening, it's going to be on Fox and CNN as well. But we have access to the White House every single day. Is it time to retire or shift the focus of the State of the Union? Or just tradition reigns supreme here? The president laid out a number of priorities last night, and every president does this. It's not, the speech is more from a bringing us up to speed on the State of the Union to kind of like the pep rally of what's about to be introduced or what's going to be tackled in the coming days and months. President talked a lot about energy costs. Talked a lot about keeping gas prices down. He talked a heck of a lot about Russia invading Ukraine and the resolve of the Ukrainian people, although he did screw up and say the Iranian people. But when it comes to the issues that affect our own backyard, the president said too many families are struggling to keep up with their bills, and he's 100% right. But do we want to hear that on a Tuesday night? Like, we want to see action. We know this already, and we've heard from your press secretary daily, and you've had 4, 5, 6 different press briefings, special press conferences about just that. Is it time to retire the State of the Union? Also, one I was struck by was, is it incredibly late in the year to have the State of the Union? I mean, March 1st. Last year, the president was just taking over, so he didn't have a State of the Union address. He did address a joint session of Congress in late April, but there was no quote-unquote State of the Union. Before that, normally the State of the Union is the end of January, beginning of February, with the exception of 2017 when Donald Trump took over. It was the last day of February. But does that make a lick of difference in the grand scheme of things? Is it time to retire it? Here comes CBS News.
Last second, I thought, oh wait, you wanted that video at some point, and then we were talking about State of the Union, so I came back quickly.
That was where I was going to use it, but I didn't know you'd be ready, so I held off. Maybe the last segment of the show.
I thought
Yeah.
about it immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's my bad for not. I didn't realize the archivist was going to cut that short.
Yeah, it
I don't normally.
actually ran out.
Yeah. So previous hosts of the show would have bled that out into a full segment, and I'm not down with that. So I'm like, let's bail. Let's do something different. Oh. Can you see who's on one?
Talking with 7-3. Okay, I'll be sure to let them know. Thank you for calling. Have a good day. You said, I know you're not, like, this isn't your station, but ESPN has no sound right now.
Okay, well, it's one of our stations. I appreciate that. Did he say 104.5 or 104.9? Okay. It's probably 104.9. But let me go check on their external.
Yeah, we have plenty of time.
Keep the State of the Union, retire the daily press conference. See, I would be down with that, but the daily press conference has been around basically since 9/11. Possibly before that, but that's when I started paying attention. I would definitely be down with that. We don't need that much. We can go live our own bleeping lives once in a while, and you'll be surprised how many other problems go away when we just start living our own lives again. How many problems get solved because we're, instead of being told how crappy everything is and how crappy we are at being people, we can actually go out and live with our neighbors. I need to do a Ghost Slim because I wasn't here yesterday, and I'm sure Ghost Slim was on the log yesterday. So, Baton Rouge Mattress is back.
GatorWorks believes that your website should be the perfect full-time salesperson. One that always looks sharp, never says the wrong thing, and is always available. If your website isn't creating more leads for your business, what is it doing? Visit our salesperson at gatorworks.net.
They should make NFTs on some of the cooler historic artifacts, make the state some money. How would you make a digital non-fungible, like how? Ooh, I love the idea. I don't think I understand it though, Byron. That would be a hell of an idea. I mean, is that doable? I retired the State of the Union years ago when I subscribed to Netflix, but I enjoy the sheeple hanging on to every word like it was a chocolate fountain. First of all, do not impugn the chocolate fountain like that. What's next? Taking shots at a nacho bar? Come on, Troy. Chocolate fountains have way more integrity. Oh. Sorry, couldn't help myself. Okay, Gene Marks, did the president say anything in his State of the Union that will impact your business and the economy? Yes, a lot. I look forward to speaking with Brian Haldane about this topic soon on Talk 107.3. All right, Gene, bring it, dog. Yes, although Biden is an hysterical speaker, I enjoy watching him short circuit. He will get irrationally angry at nothing, then he will forget where he is. His squinting is also fun. I'm also a big fan of the creepy whisper. Like the Nick Cage of presidents, right?
You have complete collision at 7:52.
Okay.
You already did the so we're caught up. So that is the last live read we have as well.
Wait, which one?
Complete collision.
Oh, yeah. All right. .37, Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Waiting on Congressman Garrett Graves as we do D.C. Current at this time. The Congressman's office put out a statement yesterday following the release of oil reserves. The congressman says the Biden administration's strategic petroleum reserve announcement is like using Flex Seal to plug a hole on the Hoover Dam. Clearly, Congressman Graves has never used Flex Seal because that stuff works, yo. Sorry. It may make them feel like they're doing something, but it's not a long-term solution. The spike in energy prices all Americans are paying is the result of self-inflicted bad decisions by the Biden officials. And the phrase that the congressman has used on this show often is unforced errors. And he's 100% right. So hopefully we can connect with him. Let's see, 7:38. Can't imagine he'd be in line to get his ashes already. But want to talk about that. Want to talk about the rest of the State of the Union and how much he was able to unpack from it, and maybe dive into a little bit on a town hall he's got coming up as well. So hopefully we'll connect with Congressman Garrett Graves here shortly. In the meanwhile, let me remind you about the folks over at Complete Collision Center. Complete Collision Center, 2 locations, one on Plank Road in Zachary, one on Perkins, just east of Bluebonnet. I always want to say Bluebonnet at Perkins, but it's Perkins at Bluebonnet. What you're going to get at both locations of Complete Collision Center is top-notch service, certified by more than a dozen major car manufacturers. The people who make the cars say take your car here to get it fixed. They also have the iCar Gold Class certification. What is that? Well, visit CompleteCollision.com to learn more. Basically, it puts you in the top 15% of body shops nationwide from jump. CompleteCollision.com. You give them a call if you're in an accident, 768-9898. Or check out CompleteCollision.com. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Check out CompleteCollision.com. All right, joining us now for D.C. Current is Congressman Garrett Graves. Congressman, good morning. How are you, sir?
Hey, Brian. Good morning. I'm doing okay. A little bit of disappointment last night with State of the Union speech on some issues, but doing okay otherwise.
Well, let's start with the State of the Union because I was watching the meeting of the courts and it was way more lively. No, I caught up with the State of the Union after the fact. But so what were a few of your bigger takeaways from the State of the Union? Let's start with the Russia-Ukraine situation. Your takeaways there.
Well, so look, I actually liked the way that the president started his speech. I thought it was really good. I thought it was unifying. I mean, just the line, we're always going to support freedom over tyranny, talking about the strength of the Ukraine people. I really thought that was good. If I were writing a speech, I would have included a lot of that. I would have really focused on that because it brings America together. So I thought that was great. What was really just disappointing was, so he started great with the Ukraine. I thought the stuff at the end where he talked about opioid abuse and mental health and helping our veterans. I mean, look, absolutely, that was a good, solid ending, the 4 things he brought up at the end. It was all the things in the middle. It was doubling and tripling down, Brian, on the very things that have caused this country to be in such a messy situation right now. He talks about buy American, yet it clearly doesn't think we should buy American when it comes to energy, but spending an extra $22 million every single day buying Russian oil. Our imports of Russian crude have nearly tripled under this administration. And so, this is effectively the United States funding Vladimir Putin's aggression into Ukraine. Talking about doubling and tripling down on some of the social programs that have the expensive social programs that have put us in this inflationary situation, and then making the baffling statement that his solution for inflation is lowering our expenses, not lowering our wages. I don't even know what that means. What do you mean lowering your expenses? So we're all supposed to start buying generic brands? Like, what does that even mean? The way that you fix inflation is stop spending all of this crazy money out there on things that don't make any sense, on things that are so contrary to the very strategies that have made America such an amazing nation. So look, good start, good ending. It was the things in the middle that was just incredibly frustrating. And then even some of the double talk about the border security, talking about how we need to secure our borders and enforce our immigration laws. I mean, who does he think he's talking to? These are problems this administration has created. They've opened the border. They've refused to enforce the laws. So, one more time, Brian, good beginning, good end. It was just everything in the middle that was infuriating.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought up the reducing expenses part of that because I started to think maybe I'm in a little bit of a late Mardi Gras Day haze and I'm not hearing him right. But I don't know how, when the cost of everything else is through the roof, I don't know how to reduce my own expenses in my household budget, much less how a business would be able to maintain their level of business while doing that.
Well, Brian, I got to tell you, and I didn't mean to be disrespectful, but when he said it, I kind of started giggling a little bit. I was like, certainly,
okay, no, thank you. Yeah,
that was not a correct statement. I thought he misread his speech, and I haven't gone back to re-review the text of the speech to see if that was intentional or not. But it sounded to me like maybe he misspoke in there somewhere, because that just didn't make any sense at all. And all that, I mean, the problem or the cause of inflation is coming in and paying people extraordinary dollars not to work versus paying them to work, expanding these social programs. And even, I knew on the front end that he was going to try and take some type of victory lap on the infrastructure bill. But look, here's what's going on, and talk to people that are out there trying to build projects. They're going out there trying to build these projects, and because of inflation, because of the worker shortage, because of the supply chain problems, you're seeing projects come in, the bids on projects come in significantly higher than anyone projected, which means any of this potential upside or additional funding from the infrastructure bill to build roads and bridges is going to be more than eaten up by all of these bad policy decisions that have resulted in worker shortage, supply chain problems, and extraordinary inflation.
Yes, and it's all circular. Like, there's no way off of this path. Without some kind of outside interference. I mean, within a business, they can't solve this. Congressman, I got to take you off the map here for just a second to ask you a completely random question that I've had as a kind of a running poll question this morning. Is it time to retire the State of the Union? I know constitutionally there are requirements, but for 90-plus minutes once a year, we get to see half the chamber stand, half the chamber sit. Then the other half stand, and the other half sit. For 90-plus minutes, we're given a pep rally from the people in charge while the other half just gets to play bitterness. Like, is it time to start looking at the idea of the State of the Union address and revamping it in some way?
Well, I think the solution here is going back to actually focusing on things that make sense. I think that the State of the Union, to some degree, has become, as you indicated, a pep rally with both teams there, and so
right.
only one of them is getting excited. And so I think that the better solution here is to, I mentioned it, Brian, the beginning of his speech talking about Ukraine, talking about Russia, talking about shutting down U.S. airspace to Russian overflights. Those things were great. The way that he ended it, talking about the just incredible sacrifice of our veterans and their families, and us making sure we do everything that those folks deserve for their sacrifice and contribution to our freedom. I mean, look, absolutely. So why can't you do more of that? It's right. The junk in the middle. It's all of these social welfare expansion programs. It's paying people not to work. It's suggesting that the way to lift people out of poverty and equalize pay is to have government come in and force people to do it. These things don't make sense. Let me throw him one bone. One thing that I appreciated, I like that he brought up prescription drugs. It is just inexcusable, the price and the price difference in the United States compared to other countries. But let me just go back and say, Brian, the solution here is to focus on things that actually unite America. We all agree that we've got to do a better job with education, that we've got to get infrastructure in place and solve our traffic and flood vulnerability problems, restore our coast. We need to, one thing he didn't mention, stepping in and getting additional funds for our hurricane victims from Laura, Delta, Zeta, and Ida. So there are things that unite America. It's going out there and talking about these things that are so divisive. And in some cases, he's sitting there trying to promote things that have like a 25 to 30% approval rating in the country. What are you doing? I mean, that's what divides America. Focus on things that are true American priorities. That's, I think, the difference. And unfortunately, the president chose to go the divisive route on much of his speech.
Let's talk energy. Let's talk 60 million barrels of oil and how half of that's going to come from the United States. What kind of effects are we going to see here when it comes to mounting an economic defense against Russia?
Look, the president tried to do this once before whenever energy prices were high, said, I'm going to come in and release oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve is our emergency reserve of oil. It was not designed to be released because you have bad energy policies. It was designed when there's a national, international crisis. I supported him doing a release during Hurricane Ida. I would actually be okay, and I think it would be an okay move if you paired the release of the 30 million barrels of our oil with reforms in energy policy, because if you just release 30 million barrels right now, which is somewhere around 5% of our total reserves, you can't keep doing this without, meaning there's not a sustainable path. You've got to change your energy policies to where we are energy independent again, as President Trump got us in 2019 and 2020. We were energy independent in the United States. You can't keep doubling and tripling down on these crazy strategies that have made us more dependent upon Russia, more dependent upon Saudi Arabia, more dependent upon Iraq, and more dependent upon Algeria and Nigeria for oil. You can't do that and release the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. You've got to reform your strategies. Are you going to go down to South Louisiana and tell them, hey, guys, I'm sorry, Boudreaux and Thibodeau, we're going to buy oil from Vladimir Putin instead of you? It doesn't make any sense. And, the president talked about buy American energy too.
Right.
And so, again, I'm okay with him releasing from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, but only if you set a new course for long-term energy independence in America, get us back on track where President Trump had us, and stop this ridiculousness that, I'm going to solar and wind ourselves out of this thing. Those are important energy technologies. They're going to play a growing role in America and around the world, but they're even impeding or blocking those types of projects. Like you can't. Energy can't come from pixie dust. You've got to have a clear strategy on how you're going to do this, and they have failed to do that over and over again.
I would challenge that. I believe energy can come from pixie dust, but it's about believing, Congressman. It's about believing.
Al, and maybe I'm wrong with that. I'm happy to look at your science.
He is Congressman Garrett Graves. He joins us every Wednesday for DC Current. Congressman, we always appreciate the time. Thank you much.
Hey, Brian, thanks. Take care.
Absolutely. You do the same. There's no area of this where he was wrong in that. Yeah, buy American. Well, follow your own lead. Buy American oil as well. Was it Will Ferrell's character in Zoolander? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. We do it cleaner than everybody else. We can employ our own people. We can not have to rely on madmen like Vladimir Putin. If we just, go shopping at our own local grocery when it comes to the Gulf. All right, quick break. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and get outside of East Baton Rouge Parish with the Outside In next. It's a beautiful thing. these slaps that don't want to work. I swear to God. It just pisses me off. Just freaking work. I'm going to be worn out tomorrow. Letting you know now. Kill my mic, please. Shoot. Hang on. 7:55 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane continues. We got CBS News coming your way here at the top of the hour. My appreciation to Congressman Garrett for hopping on board for D.C. Current. Long night last night with the State of the Union. The speech that I believe is about as timely and useful. It's run its course. We'll dive into that again next hour. We got to make sure that we have enough time for us to, as we do every day at this time, step outside of East Baton Rouge Parish, check in on headlines from surrounding parishes. There will be a running theme. It's the Outside In. Down at the Big Easy, revelers decked out in traditional purple, green, and gold came out to party on Fat Tuesday in New Orleans' first full-dress Mardi Gras since 2020. The fun included back-to-back parades across the city, back-to-back-to-back parades in most cases, marches throughout the French Quarter and beyond. The masking requirements on and off, depending on the business in the quarter. I tell you, having the vaccination card helped a good deal. Parade routes shorter than usual because there weren't enough police for the standard ones, even with officers working 12-hour shifts as they always do on Mardi Gras in the days leading up to the end of the carnival season. But overall, great success throughout the return of Carnival. One of the state's longest-running Mardi Gras traditions returned in full force on Tuesday as well, heading up to Point Capee Parish. The Community Center of Point Capee Parade and the Lions Club Parade running back-to-back through New Roads starting at 11 o'clock yesterday. The Lions Club Parade is the second oldest parade in the state, celebrating their 100th anniversary yesterday. In Evangeline Parish, the traditional Cajun Mardi Gras is a bit different than New Orleans. Instead of riding around on floats, revelers ride from house to house on horseback in colorful homemade costumes. Courir de Mardi Gras, which translates to Fat Tuesday Run, is based on medieval Mardi Gras. Revelers chase chickens through rice fields. Participants would beg and sing and dance for homeowners to get ingredients to make gumbo. Quote, the captain would ask for whatever they had. Could be rice, chicken, whatever. They'll chase the chicken through the yard, keep the chicken, then move on to the next house, said Brock Vadrine. At the end of the route, the ingredients combine to form community gumbo and make the best, that who is the best chicken chaser will be named, or was named. Closing out with a non-Mardi Gras story out of Livingston Parish. The sheriff's office shared video Monday night. You could see it with our news partners at WBRZ. Shared video Monday night of a number of sheriff's deputies with a wild encounter. According to the department, deputies had just wrapped up a traffic stop where they arrested a truck driver. Things did not end there. As they searched the vehicle, the driver's pet leapt out at one of the deputies. What kind of animal leapt out, you ask? A pet feral squirrel. Oh, yeah. This is good for good video. The rodent latched onto one of the deputies. The front-mounted camera on one of their vehicles captured the pair wrestling with their tiny little attacker. Eventually, the two were able to corral the rogue animal back into its cage without anyone, including the squirrel, getting hurt. It's over at WBRZ.com. If you've not yet seen it, please check it out. It is worthwhile. That is the outside in. We are due up for a break. By the way, if you're not watching us on YouTube, please check us out on YouTube. It's Mornings with Brian Haldane. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We go live every morning at 6, every weekday morning at 6, bringing the show in its entirety and what goes on during the breaks as well. So if you're not yet watching on YouTube, you might want to give that a look because there's a ton of bonus content. Right now, let's take a break. CBS News coming your way, then we're right back at it on Talk 107.3 FM. Hey, can you play in Q LRN Cut 9? Sure. Yes, please. I heard most of it. Play it again, please.
As of the beginning of this year, there were 9,000 permits for oil and gas drillers that were currently going unused. So the idea that the federal government is restricting the ability of oil and gas companies to produce more, I think, is incorrect.
I don't think that's accurate. I think I'm gonna have to. Okay. No. Hillar Moore might be in studio today. I don't remember. He's either in studio or on the phone. Obviously, those are the only two choices. What, 6,000 miles an hour? Yeah. Yes. No, Hillar Moore's talking about crime in Baton Rouge. Oh, wait, I'm not done with the State of the Union stuff. .806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Hour 3 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Brian here with you, Jake producing. Again, my appreciation to Congressman Garrett Grace for hopping on board for the for DC Current, talking a little bit about the State of the Union, among other things, which, by the way, we will be talking about the State of the Union in our next segment as well, as CPA Gene Marks is going to join the show. Gene is, we normally have Gene on for jobs reports and things like that. Gene is a certified public accountant who serves as president of the Marks Group, a financial management firm with more than 600 small and mid-sized businesses. He covers small business for the Washington Times, The Hill, The Guardian, Forbes, and the Philadelphia Inquirer. So I figured he's probably a pretty good resource to talk about small business impact as a result of the State of the Union. No way I don't ask him about the overall question, which we're taking your answers on YouTube and on Twitter as well. Mornings with Brian Haldane on YouTube, or got a poll question up on my Twitter account, at Brian Haldane. Is it time to retire the State of the Union? It's just exhausting to see one half of the room stand up and clap, the other half of the room sit there with their hands on, sit on their hands. It's exhausting to see 90 minutes of divisiveness in what is supposed to be unifying and rallying. And by the way, the whole purpose of it is so antiquated. The purpose of it predates TV, predates the 24-hour news cycle, predates the internet, predates all of these things. Bringing both houses of Congress together to update them as to the State of the Union can be done with a memo at this point. With daily press briefings, with 24-hour news cycles, where we're at right now, is it even necessary? We'll continue taking your answers on that throughout the morning. Right now, though, it's the time of the show where Jake takes us back in time with this day in history.
You've got to come back with me. Where? Who's coming with you? We have to go back, kid. We have to go back. Say, kids, what time is it? It's time for the State
Yes, it is time for this day in history. We're kicking things off in 1867. The U.S. Congress creates the Department of Education.
Excellent. How'd that work out?
1882. I'm sorry?
How'd that work out?
Hit or miss.
Yeah.
1882, Queen Victoria narrowly escapes assassination when Roderick McLean shoots her while boarding a train in Windsor.
What?
Yeah.
He was already getting on a train. Why did he shoot her?
I don't know.
I think she was getting on the train.
Yeah, no, she was.
So I was making
If
fun of
he
the
was doing
awkward.
it, he was doing like a trick
the
shot or something.
awkward wording of the article there.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of trick shots, this is probably my favorite one to talk about. 1932, Australian golf trick shot artist Joe Kirkwood, 1932, keep in mind. He posted an incredible 83 using only his putter over 18 holes in Bel Air, Florida. His round includes 6 pars and 1 birdie. He only used his putter and got an 83.
What is he, Roy McAvoy?
No.
Good old Tin Cup?
It's Joe Kirkwood right there.
You've never seen Tin Cup?
No, I haven't.
Oh, come on. Kevin Costner plays Roy McAvoy. So he gets angry missing a shot on a round, and he breaks every club in his bag except for his 7-iron, and he plays the back 9 with just a 7-iron. And then after the round, he asks Sonny Crockett. What's Sonny Crockett's name in real life?
I don't know.
What? Don Johnson.
Don Johnson.
Ask Don Johnson's character. It says, you ever go 2 under on the back 9 with just a 7-iron? And Don Johnson's like, it never occurred to me to try. So, anyway.
Well, 1933, King Kong made its debut. I didn't know King Kong was around since 33.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
1965, one of the most popular musical films of all time, The Sound of Music, premieres. It was awarded the Academy Awards Best Picture in 1966.
1962.
What happened then?
Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points in a game.
How is that not on there?
I don't know.
That's
He did it against the
baffling.
Knicks.
Oof.
Had to be against the Knicks, right?
Of course it was.
Yeah.
Of course it was. 1968, 19-year-old American Peggy Fleming wins her 3rd consecutive World Ladies Figure Skating Championship in Geneva, Switzerland. She then announces her retirement, turns professional, and eventually goes into broadcasting. She was 19 and won 3 in a row in an entire world championship. That's so impressive to me.
Yeah.
1976, Walt Disney World logs its 50 millionth guest.
Okay.
There you go. 2012.
And what'd they get for that effort?
Half
off a churro. That's what it was.
Well, if you kept that ticket, probably a lot of money
Right.
if you held on to it. Well, 2012, NFL establishes existence of a bounty program at the New Orleans Saints from 2009 to 2011.
Whatever.
Players given incentives to inquire.
Whatever. Yeah, Bountygate became a thing today.
Yes. And this one's, I kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday. It's just kind of ironic, or I don't know how to put it. But 2014, President Vladimir Putin receives unanimous approval from Russia's parliament to send troops to the Ukraine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was 8 years ago.
All right.
That's all the events. Let's get to the birthdays. There were a lot to talk about. We're going to start off with Dr. Seuss, who was born on this day in 1904. Spanish artist Becky G turns 25. Rebel Wilson is 42. John Bon Jovi is 60. Up-and-coming country artist Luke Combs is 32. Daniel Craig, James Blonde as I like to call him, is 54. Big Ben Roethlisberger turns 40. Bryce Dallas Howard, 41. Former New Orleans Saint Reggie Bush is 37.
Yep.
And Tua Tagovailoa, it's his birthday as well.
Okay.
Got any for me before I move
No,
on?
I'm scrolling through. I got my email late today, so I don't have it printed out for me to go over during the breaks. And no, I think that's all of them. There's no other like Tigers or former Saints or whatever that are mixed in here.
There you
Just
go.
Reggie Bush was the only one. Oh, no. Corey Webster, former LSU cornerback. Corey Webster. His
Happy
birthday's
birthday to all those mentioned. I didn't have any deaths to report, and it is Ash Wednesday.
It is Ash Wednesday.
Well, that is this day in history.
And we are due up for a break. Going to take that break right now. When we come back, let's talk about the State of the Union from a small business perspective. Gene Marks, CPA, joins us next on Talk 107.3. Am I louder, or are they louder on the pots over there? Am I louder on my headphones, or is it louder than normal over there? All right.
Good. Oh, good. Your audio sounds good on this end. We just hit our break. We're going to be live again in about 2 minutes. We'll get going, okay? Thank you. Please hold.
Hey, it's Brooks Lewis. One little wire. 816 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rooting on this Ash Wednesday as, yes, still in recovery mode from Mardi Gras Day. Who schedules the State of the Union on Mardi Gras Day? I know, we like to say early Tuesday morning, everywhere else is just Tuesday. That proved true on a bigger level yesterday as you get home from parading and, well, you got to dial back in for the State of the Union. If you missed any of it, well, we've got your recap right here. Gene Marks is a certified public accountant who serves as president of the Marks Group, a financial management firm which supports more than 600 small and mid-sized businesses. He's the guy we're turning to talk about how the State of the Union or the information therein affects small business. He also covers small business for the Washington Times, The Hill, The Guardian, Forbes, and the Philadelphia Inquirer, and he joins us now. Gene, good morning. How are you, sir?
Brian, I'm doing well. How are you?
Struggling.
I'm not hungover like you are, but I'm assuming you're in good shape.
So, yeah, not hungover, to be clear. Not hungover. I was very responsible, but the sun definitely did its damage yesterday for sure. So,
hey, it happens to the best of us.
yes, absolutely. Let's dive into the State of the Union last night. You know what? I want to approach this from a very positive angle. What were your most positive takeaways from the State of the Union?
Well, the number one thing was the president's stance on Russia and the war going on in Ukraine, obviously. And you could tell by his response during the speech, he brought, the entire House up for a standing ovation with both parties. Putin has, I've actually always thought that Putin has been strong against, Biden has always been very strong against Putin. He's always been very wary of what Putin's been doing. And, he expressed that in his speech. So, he announced he's cutting off Russia's, largest bank from the international financial system. He's making his war fund almost worthless, Putin's war fund. He's choking access to technology. That's going to have some big impact on Russia's economy. And it's absolutely the right thing to do. Unfortunately, it would have been nice to see him take what Putin's doing and make some more investments in defense for our country, and also maybe back off some of the attacks he's made on the fossil fuel industry, because thank goodness for them, they're the ones that have been supplying the oil and gas necessary that's been a big part of this war. But listen, in the meantime, it's good news that he did take a good stance, and I thought that was my first good takeaway.
So with that, yes, everything you take away from Russia, there was the opportunity to double down on those applause lines by announcing there would be further investment in American ingenuity, in American jobs, in Americans stepping up to fill the void lost by cutting Russia off. Was that a missed opportunity?
Yeah, it really is. And again, one of the many issues that I have with the Biden administration, is that it has been against U.S. energy and U.S. oil production since the start. Unrealistically so. I mean, he favors obviously green technology and electric cars and all of that, which is fine, and I understand that that's something in the future. But there is a realistic, pragmatic point of view that you have to have when you're running this country. And the fact of the matter is that oil and gas remains to be fossil fuels, the least expensive, most affordable, and most popular way to not only fuel whatever defense that we have, but also for our allies, and of course to fuel our businesses. So here he had a great opportunity to turn around and say, hey, this war in Russia has shown the importance of oil and gas, and I am going to double down on investments in American jobs and help our oil and gas producing companies and industry to step up and help our allies and of course American business. Maybe I've been a little bit too harsh in my points of view on that in the past. He did not take that example. I'll tell you another example. I know he spoke later on in the State of the Union about ways that he wants to fight inflation. And, one of the ways that he said was that he was going to go after high drug prices and the pharmaceutical industry, gouging consumers. And, listen, Brian, say what you want about the pharmaceutical industry. I mean, thank God for that industry during this pandemic. Instead of taking the opportunity and saying thank you for all that you've done during this pandemic to provide vaccines and therapies and medications, instead he sort of went on the offensive against them. And listen, they're a big business, and he's not a business-friendly president. So he took that opportunity to really show that, and that was a disappointment to me as well.
Well, they are a big business, but there are areas where it needs to be worked on, and there are low to middle income seniors who are in desperate need of help. And one of the first things he did was affect an increase on the price of insulin when he first got in there. But this is stuff that's already being covered by our Senate. I don't felt like that was really taking a swing at the fences here, because it's something that's already in the works. Our own Senator Bill Cassidy is involved in this as well. I mean, he himself is a doctor, and this all, I feel like this is being worked on.
Well, it's funny because there was really nothing new in this speech. I mean, you are right, as you said in the beginning of this conversation, that he had opportunities to really take a stance, to really kind of leverage Ukraine war and make some new announcements about, say, defense or big business or about oil and gas production. That didn't happen. I mean, in the end, when you go through his speech, there was very, very little in there that was any different from from speeches that he's made in the past. He gave support for the infrastructure bill. Again, he keeps pushing for the American Family Tax. He wants to spend more money on child care and on education, and he wants to defend workers' rights and increase the minimum wage. It was sort of a rehash of all the speeches that he has made since he became president, and of course to some extent some that he's made before he became president. And it was no change in direction. There was no lessons learned from recent elections, local elections, no lessons learned from the war that's going on right now. It's like he's staying the same path going forward, which I think is going to be a path, for disaster for his party in the upcoming midterms.
Okay, I'm glad you brought it there, because that's what's going to come next, because we are where we are in the pandemic right now. We are seeing what we're seeing with Russia and Ukraine. Did he need a major announcement last night to help ensure any kind of Democratic wins in midterms this fall?
Yeah, what he needed to do was he needed to say something that would have been more appealing to moderate Democrats, instead of the same old, we need more money for workers, we need more money for green technology. He needs to appear into the middle. The bottom line is, Brian, is that there are many moderate Democrats and moderate Republicans, and I'm a moderate Republican, that are running businesses. These are my clients all around the country and in your area as well, that would certainly be open to a president, even a Democratic president, that has more moderate policies. And the example I give today is inflation. Putting aside the concerns that we might have for war that's going on in Russia and Ukraine, it is a far, far distance away. Here at home, my clients are dealing with inflation issues and, of course, labor issues, which many of them are tied into each other. And, it would have been nice to see the president announce some type of tangible things that he was going to do to fight inflation, which would mean tackling more issues that we're still having with the supply chain and reining in government spending, which is really having an impact on the value of the dollar and upcoming interest hikes that we're about to see. Nothing from that sort. In fact, it was just the opposite. It was his similar rhetoric of, we want to spend more money, and we want a few more trillion to go in the system for the American Families Act, and we want to spend more on education, spend more on on employees, and doing that is just adding trillions more to a system that's already awash in too many dollars, and that's what's behind a big part of what's going on in inflation. Brian, when you look at our money supply has increased like $4 trillion in the past year and a half. Most of it for good reasons, and in a sense to provide liquidity during a historic pandemic. But now is not the time to be spending more. Now is the time to be managing that and trying to catch up with that and rein it in, because we're seeing the impact that's having on prices. But President Biden doesn't seem to see that, and he missed another opportunity by not coming forward with something more tangible that would relieve the price pressures that many businesses are facing right now.
Yeah.
I just have to also say, when we look at inflation, the producer price index is ranging around 10%. That's price increases that's to come. That's what it's cost to make products right now. And where consumers are struggling with a 7% inflation rate, that's going to go up over the next 6 months as producer prices start making their way into the system. And again, the president made absolutely no moves or announcements that would have any impact on that. And I think that's going to hurt him a lot come November.
Yeah, because we talked about this last hour with Congressman Garrett Graves. It talked about reducing expenses, not reducing salaries or wages, something to that effect. And it left me wondering how. It was like an open-ended question that it felt like he almost misspoke during the speech.
He did. His idea is to spend more money, and that would make employees happier and more productive, which is not, again, what businesses want to hear. The other thing also that, is also always disconcerting. I mean, again, he made his same attacks on the wealthy and big corporations.
Yes.
He wants to tax them more and make sure that they pay their fair share, which, again, when you talk to most of the small business owners I know, first of all, a few of them kind of fall into his categories of what he calls wealthy, people making more than $400,000 a year. But more importantly, I mean, what he forgets is that those big companies, who, in my opinion, really stepped up during the pandemic, kept their employees on the payroll, did their thing. But those big companies are customers to countless small businesses around the country. And when you attack those big companies, tax them more, regulate them more, constrict their operations, that has an impact on the money that they're going to spend on products and services that they're going to buy. But they've got shareholders, and they got to watch their profits. And those products and services get purchased frequently from small businesses, and their employees then leave and go to local pizza shops and retail stores and local businesses as well. So again, that rhetoric of big companies are bad, wealthy is bad, we must tax them and regulate them and rein them in.
And the number put on it too. The fact that the number of $400,000, or I believe it's just over $500,000 when you talk about the total household income, but to put that number on it right there just tells everybody, like, here's the goal you don't want to shoot for.
Correct. It's just again, it's what we were talking about from the very beginning. The president's speech is great for people that support him. They're used to hearing it. Nothing was new. Nothing, that was, groundbreaking. It was sort of the same old on all the typical policies. But he's got a problem, and his problem is that there are a lot of people that don't support him, and a lot of people that were, again, moderates that voted him, voted for him in lieu of Trump, in 2020. Well, he's losing that support. And when he, makes these same speeches and doesn't come up with anything new and doesn't address the moderates in this country, he loses them, and his party's going to lose them come November. And I don't know, if I was a Democrat supporting him, I'd be really disappointed with what he had to say, because clearly what he had to say hasn't been working so far based on the polls. You would want him to get out there and say something new and innovative. That didn't happen last night.
Gene Marks covers small business for the Washington Times, The Hill, The Guardian, Forbes, and the Philadelphia Inquirer. Gene, in these last 60 seconds, I've got to ask this. I've got a poll question up on my Twitter. We've been taking comments on YouTube all morning long. With the 24-hour news cycle, with the 24-hour news networks, with C-SPAN, with daily press briefings, with being inundated on the internet with every news outlet that's out there, have we reached a time and place where the State of the Union is obsolete?
Yeah. Well, I think actually it's something that is a nice rah-rah thing to do if it's done the right way. I don't think it's obsolete. I think I enjoy it. I think it's a nice opportunity to show unity. Right. At least you have people from both parties in the same chamber, hopefully applauding the president. So I will say that, no, I don't think that it is obsolete. But if you're expecting anything grand and new to come out of it, you certainly didn't get that last night.
Oh, I shouldn't have saved that till the end. Now I want to argue. Oh, he's Gene Marks. We always appreciate the time. Thank you for hopping on board this morning.
Thanks, Brian. You take care.
You do the same. I mean, half the room stands, half the room sits on their hands, and then switch. He's right about the beginning part about Russia. Yes, everybody in unity. I get that end of it. And yes, it is constitutionally obligated. But that can be handled with a memo, an email. Quick break. Hillar Moore joins us next on Talk 107.3. Ah! Dropped my headphones. Storm warning, says Brian. We can hear you during commercial breaks, so be careful. What was I saying that was dangerous? Storm warning, says Brian, we can hear you during commercial breaks, so be careful. Oh, I get accused of killing the mics too often. I wonder what was I saying that was probably talking about staffing LSU? Yeah, well.
Nothing beats the time when one of the people that commented said you kill more mics than Heisenberg.
Yep. It's a good line.
That would make me laugh.
That's all for tomorrow's show already. Sweet. Oh, well, no, Hillar's going to be here the whole show. He'll be their last segment, too. So. Hey, come to me after news, but before traffic. I'm going to get in my Go Slim. Okay. District Attorney. Well, either way, if I was saying something I shouldn't have been, thank you for the forewarning. I appreciate that. Storm warning would be an apt name this morning. So there were Ash Wednesday masses last year, but they sprinkled the ashes on you instead of doing the... So I think that... I'm trying to remember if I even went. It's not a holy day of obligation, but Catholics make a big deal about it. I mean, remember your dust, and to dust you shall return.
Interesting how Catholic this state is overall when the surrounding states aren't, I would say.
So today is the first day of Lent. A lot of folks giving up a lot of things for Lent, and that's a good thing because it's the first step towards putting you on the path to making healthier lifestyle choices overall. Yes, I know we take on Lent from our Christian perspective, but this can catapult you into dropping a few pounds before the summer as well. There's no reason these two things can't work together. And the folks over at Go Slim Nutrition are here to help. The countdown to summertime is on. That's how the calendar works in Louisiana. Lent begins the countdown to Easter, which is the countdown to summer, right? 763-9600 is the phone number for Go Slim Nutrition. 763-9600. Or swing by. They're on the corner of Bluebonnet at Perkins, right next door to Rouse's. The countdown to summer is on. Get yourself involved with a jumpstart plan at Go Slim right now. All right.
We were struggling because we've kind of covered some and
Come on in. What was your last name again?
Fields. Melanie.
And your title?
Assistant District Attorney.
Section Chief Domestic Violence. And Program Director of Stop the Loss.
Yeah.
Maybe we could talk about
if we
that
could get
and
that
then-
in there, that would be great. Not that my
Program
title,
Director
but
for
the
what?
Stop the Loss.
Stop the loss.
our Stop the Loss initiative is something we really want to
It'll
kind
take
of.
a long time to talk about, so she could.
Okay, well, let's
I'll
leave
just
with
turn it over. What I could do is, if you want, I could maybe introduce Melanie and say all of that.
Okay, yeah, go
And
for
then,
it.
and then you won't have to worry about that.
Oh,
And
no,
we'll talk
all
about
good.
what you're here to talk about.
Yeah,
Stop.
get after it.
Make it easier.
Easy. I'm always about doing it easier.
You want to just sit over there, or how you want
I
to
could
stand?
just stand right here.
I'm going to
good.
stand.
You'd rather
We
sit?
only have two
No,
working
I'm
chairs.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we only have two.
Budget cuts.
Standing is better for my
Condon got
back
two chairs that
anyway.
work.
Do what?
Condon has two chairs that works.
Well, you know, I don't have his numbers.
It's because you have Franz, man. You gotta bump it up.
Franz and I have been just, it's so good on the air. Like, and we become friends over the time as well, but he just, when we start going at it, I get more reaction about Franz's segment than any other segment on the show. Most of the people hating on him. So he used to work for you?
Mm-hmm.
They worked with my brother Steve for a long time.
Okay. Eight. There we go. 8:38. Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 3, rolling right along. Hey, look for that warming trend to continue. High of 77 today. Overnight low tonight, getting down to only 45. Tomorrow we top out at 79. Friday all the way up to 80. Right now we're at 57 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. So every month we like to bring on the district attorney to bring us up to speed on what his office has got going on. Hillar Moore's in the house. Hillar, good morning. How are you?
Great. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you as well. It's Ash Wednesday is always a struggle. It is.
It's baseball season, though. So.
Well, you know,
Somewhat.
Yeah, but we're not used to the sun yet. Like Mardi Gras Day is that like, oh, here it is.
Yep.
Get ready for it. The unexpected sunburn and everything else that goes along as well. So,
Good weather.
yes, sir. You've got a guest with you today.
Yep. So we're here to talk about domestic violence and the Stop the Loss program. You and I discussed several months ago how bad last year was for domestic violence itself, and then but particularly domestic violence homicides. And Melody's going to talk a little bit more about that. But the number was 35, I believe, total, either intimate partner or domestic violence homicides, whether justified or not. That's a big number compared to some other years where we had 2 and 4 and some 19 at the highest, but 35. So I think it's a good time to talk about that. But Melody Fields is an assistant DA. She's actually the section chief of the domestic violence section. She prosecutes most of the domestic violence major cases, including homicides. She's also the program director of the Stop the Loss program, trying to stop people from killing each other, domestic violence, intimate partner related. She has a lot of knowledge about this, very influential in the Family Justice Center, well known in the state and the nation for what she does. So happy to have her here with us today.
Well, welcome aboard, Melanie. I appreciate you coming in this morning because, yeah, as District Attorney Moore was saying, this is a topic we've covered a lot, and because it's been that bad. Let's start with the basics. What is Stop the Loss? How did it get started, and where are y'all at as far as your, getting out there?
So our Stop the Loss initiative is a kind of a coordinated community response. Hillar has gotten together all the law enforcement agencies and as many community providers as possible to address the domestic violence holistically. We obviously want to stop the loss of life, but we also want to stop the loss of this mass incarceration. We want to stop the loss of family units. We want to stop the loss of children's innocence because on almost every household, children are witnessing the violence. So that's the basic idea. It's to identify families that have this issue and intervene by offering community services, offering counseling for both an abuser and a victim so that they can make healthier decisions. There is a leveling process, an evaluation process as an arrest is made from D to A being the worst, meaning that they've already had opportunities for change and they continue that violence. That violence is escalating, so we prosecute. But everything below an A, we try to offer services and we'll still prosecute, but if an abuser takes the initiative to get help, to take advantage of the intervention, then Hillar's office is willing to maybe recommend probation or reduce a felony to a misdemeanor or something like that on an individual basis.
How important is that to have steps along the way as opposed to just going straight to prosecution? How important is that to have this where you can remedy without the full-on punishment?
That's a really good question, but particularly with regard to domestic violence, because these defendants and these victims are going to go back to each other.
Right.
Just about 100% of the time. So compared to a defendant and a victim that have no relationship whatsoever, that's a different story. But now when you know they're going back to a bad relationship, if we're not able to really try to fix that, then they're coming back again as a defendant or victim. We'd rather not that happen. So that's really the importance behind it all, because we know where they're going. Also, the victims have been victimized before by other defendants. They just seem to follow in that pattern. The other is the children, and trying to stop, because they will become a domestic abuser as well. We have to intervene with them as well.
How deep in can the Stop the Loss program get when it comes to this intervention? Or once re-released back into the wild, how do you stop people from getting themselves back together?
Well, you're right. The prosecutor's office only has the tool to assist while prosecution is happening, which is often what we do is to agree to delay it if someone's actually taking advantage of getting counseling and getting help for their coexisting disease problems like alcohol and drugs and mental health and things like that. We want to provide those opportunities through community providers to let them get the help that they need and give them the time to do that. If somebody refuses, then our only tool is to prosecute.
Right. What kind of results are we showing so far?
Well, that's a really good question. We worked about 3 years to develop the program and really just started implementation rollout last year.
Okay.
So the effectiveness we don't completely know, but we're gathering statistics monthly in order to be able to answer that question.
So,
I think to add to that, but last year was and the year before, such an outlier year because of COVID and domestic violence, where the people that were supposed to be loved by their family member were at home and being abused and killed by them. Tough year to really judge because the world was on its head.
Yes.
So that's a tough one. And Melody's point's well taken. We didn't have the data available for us to really start this program, to have some rigorous detail. And it took us 3 years to get there. So we're working with the John Jay School of Criminal Justice in New York and the National Network for Safe Communities. They started and guided us on our BRAVE program, where we had the lowest number of homicides then. And so that group violence reduction model, they've now taken it to domestic violence, and that's how we came up with to stop the loss. But it's taken us 3 years of hard work to get to that data point.
Well, and it's like you said, I'm glad you brought it up, because I don't know when I'm leaning on COVID too much. Like, how much is it a reason and how much is it an excuse? But if you started studying a little more than 3 years ago, boom, the pandemic flipped everything on its ear, like you said. So is it even possible to have takeaways at this point?
Probably way too early.
Okay.
I think we're going to have to give it 3 more years.
Yeah, which in the grand scheme of things, when looking at the numbers, that's a tough bit of news to swallow.
And what we need to look at is those that we have already leveled and dealt with, not the population in general that we've never touched, just those that have been through the system.
Well, that's also true. So those that you all have dealt with, what have we seen from them? Not as a holistic, not as are you going to make a dent in numbers overall, but the reaction you've gotten from those that have been pointed towards counseling or therapy or substance abuse therapy, that sort of thing.
In general, I think that we're getting good feedback and that people are having the opportunity and taking advantage of the opportunity. More importantly, I think for victims, they're being heard and they're allowed to participate for the first time in making decisions, in making suggestions, so they're empowered. And our Family Justice Center, our Capital Area Family Justice Center, which just recently opened during the pandemic, is really working to provide wraparound services to victims because, as Hillar said, they almost always return to that relationship. And I think that the pandemic is still happening right now financially because we're seeing a financial burden that's causing people to want to immediately return to one another for really for financial survival in the family unit.
100%. And yes, the pandemic, it exacerbated triggers while taking away coping mechanisms. And these two things cannot be separated. Like if you had, if you were looking to bowling night every Thursday and that got taken away, whatever the case might be, and then in the meanwhile lost your job, like these things, they're going to have long-term effects as well. So how much of the game plan from Stop the Loss, how much of the game plan is based off of the pandemic versus the post-pandemic?
I think that the Stop the Loss initiative itself was created and designed prior to the pandemic and is still working. Our issues are really financial services and abilities for victims that have been kind of stretched thin during the pandemic. But I will tell you, it's important to know that our office never stopped and law enforcement never stopped. Even when they pulled back on arresting for misdemeanors, they never stopped arresting for domestic violence misdemeanors. Everybody has continued to work through the pandemic, and everyone's continued to work together.
Yep.
From a prosecutorial end, we know that everyone's behind because courts were closed for so long, and that's been an uphill battle, to say the least. But before you even get to that, what are some of the warning signs y'all look for when you mentioned misdemeanor versus felony? What are some of the warning signs y'all look for that can get you started down a path of intervening before it comes to actual, arrests and whatnot?
So we believe that misdemeanors are important to recognize, to identify, and to intervene. Some triggers for us are when an abuser puts his hands on the woman's neck. The attempt at strangulation.
That's remarkably specific, yes.
It's very specific, but it's a real trigger. The other triggers that we have seen that we worry about, even if it's a misdemeanor, is if an abuser talks about suicide and homicide, because those also have been known to be real triggers for escalating violence real fast.
The other signs of power and control, putting a bird dog on your car, your computer, looking at your cell phone, those are really big indicators for us that are following you to work, needing to know your schedule, who you've been with. That is just a big indicators for us.
So, where does the conversation go when you start this, cross this threshold of some level of intervention? How do you start the conversation with the, prospective aggressor?
Basically, if it's a level A or B, the top levels, it's that we understand that your victim, your wife, girlfriend, came in and dropped the charges that she does not want us to prosecute. But because of your level of violence and your history, we have to go forward. And it's not her that's driving, it's me. It's the DA, it's me. And that we are going to go forward unless you get some help. And this is your offer of help. If you don't want the help, then we will have to make a decision. Whether we have a good enough case or not, that will depend.
All right, we're going to pause right here on air, but we're going to continue the conversation on YouTube, and we will pick it up on the back end of the break as well. But we do have to break. We've got Your Money Now. We've got traffic. The conversation rolls on YouTube. You're not going to want to miss out on this right now. Okay, so your spouse doesn't want to press charges, but we have a responsibility. Is there a back end that goes back around to the spouse and changes their trajectory as well?
No, I mean, we receive around 20 requests to drop charges a week.
Yeah.
Now, normally within a week or two after the person's arrested, and generally if they're still in jail, they want them out of jail. And they'll come in and say, the police lied or I lied as the victim, which caused us problems on our case because now we have to tell the defendant's lawyer, she says she lied. We don't believe that, but that's what she said. So we'll go look at the 911 call. We'll look at the officer's body camera, which one's the truth. We'll listen to a jail phone call. And, juries see through that if we need to go to a jury. But our goal is not to make the victim the bullseye on the stand because she's living with him probably if he's out of jail with her children. And now she's the bullseye. We put her on the stand to testify against the guy she doesn't want to. So normally when she takes the stand and says, I'm not talking, I don't remember, then we'll be polite to her. She'll step down, and then we'll play the jail call, the body camera. What do you believe, jury?
And there are a couple other things. Hillar has directed all domestic violence drop charge requests to our Family Justice Center. We have a victim assistant there who addresses it so that maybe it's not in a district attorney's office, it's not a police station, it's in a Family Justice Center where we can redirect her toward those services that help her make healthier decisions. But also, he's involved our bond supervisors and other community providers for abusers to help. They all know about, they're all part of the Stop the Loss program. So if somebody gets out on bond and I'm supervising them, I'm going to direct them to get counseling too, immediately before we ever get to the arraignment. And so everybody in the community is really trying to work.
So once someone's arrested and they're leveled by the officers, and look, the Baton Rouge Police, the sheriff, probation, parole, you name it, they've done an awesome job on this. Hats off to them. And they'll call us during the middle of the night or email us. This guy's a level A, just got arrested. Then we'll ask the court to set a hearing, to have a hearing on what conditions can he safely be released. And that judge will have that hearing and put conditions on that person, like get the treatment, have an ankle bracelet. So that's been really effective. Also, kudos to the judges, including family court judges. They've been issuing so many more protective orders that Melanie can talk a little bit about the numbers is quite outstanding.
Good.
No.
How effective are those orders?
It depends on an individual and whether or not that individual has a respect for the justice system. So we counsel victims on safety planning because it's just a piece of paper, but quite a few of them, especially when they're just in family court and there's not involvement in our criminal justice system, they may be a little bit more respectful of those family court orders.
But, regardless of respect or not, when that lady has a piece of paper in her hand, or it's on file with the police when they're getting dispatched, hey, heads up, there's a protective order in place, just put in place 2 weeks ago, that officer doesn't have to wait to check to see. He knows I can arrest that person now without having to wait for the court to open, or she has a copy. That's a violation of a protective order. You go into jail. So it doesn't stop a bullet or a knife or a punch, but it is better than not having one.
When we come back in, we're going to have about 5 minutes on the back end. When we come back in, where I want to take the conversation is when you're looking at abuse versus looking at homicide. You and I talked about this last time you were on here about how it's often the abused that turns into the aggressor. If that, is that
We had a bunch of them last
We have
year.
four, 5,
Yeah.
and generally happened in January of last year.
yeah, and that were considered justified, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So.
So it's any life we want to stop.
Oh, no, absolutely. But this problem is multifaceted when trying to figure out. There's no.
Well, and
There's
we
no
had-
good guy, bad guy. It's
No,
everybody
we had
is on a
family
spectrum.
members. We had a nephew and a son
Father,
intervene.
son, nephew,
Yeah.
son.
Right.
So maybe she can explain intimate partner versus domestic violence.
Sure.
Because we include all of those together now.
Okay.
Be good to do.
Well, then that's where we'll take it. When we come back in, we'll close it out. I don't need to hear that commercial today. I feel like I'm in need of it right now.
Saying wellness.
It's Oh, dreams come true.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow, that's coming up.
Coming up
huh?
soon, yeah.
Yeah. We should be doing stuff all month if we're not mistaken.
I think so.
See an accident? Report it at WBRC Traffic on Twitter. This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to $170 with the purchase of 4 eligible Michelin tires. Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more.
.856 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. One segment to go here. It's on the air with Hillar Moore. We do this every month, and I always appreciate the district attorney's time, and I always appreciate his team's time as well, and insight as we are talking with Melanie Fields about Stop the Loss. Want to talk about, in these remaining minutes, about when the abused becomes the aggressor. Because the last time Hillar was on, we were talking about, of the number of domestic violence homicides we've had a number of justifiable homicides as well. But this is something that, justifiable or not, needs to be, we would hope we would want nipped in the bud.
That's the whole point of Stop the Loss, is to identify and intervene before the death. But what's important to know is intimate partner violence is between two people who are intimate, a man and a woman, same sex, but husband, wife, girlfriend,
Right.
boyfriend. The problem is that abuse isn't in a vacuum, it's in a family. And so sometimes, as you mentioned, the victim, her only recourse is justifiable homicide, is to fight back. But also the collateral damage, the sons and the nephews and the aunts and the uncles and the new boyfriends who are there get involved to protect her, and then there's a homicide.
Does that ever pan out as being justifiable? Because to me, does that...
Last year, my recollection was in January, we might have had 3 in the month of January that I recall going to the scenes myself, where documented history by females of males, and breaking in their house, calling the police, and having to shoot to defend themselves.
I mean, but that would fall under self-defense, though.
Absolutely.
Right? Not necessarily like you laid hands on my mom, I'm coming
No,
after you.
actually, these 3 that I'm recalling actually were coming breaking into the homes of the abuser.
And we had some of the others that you're talking about last year as well. The problem is, if it's in the moment and it's really in defense of another, then it's going to be ruled in defense of another. But sometimes it's just escalated in terms of abuse, and that third party, they take affirmative action. And of course, that's criminal. We want to intervene before that happens.
What should we be on the lookout for this year? Where are y'all headed next?
Man, look, we're hoping that this year is going to be such a better year, homicide-wise, first of all. And, going out on a limb, I think it's going to be hard for us to replicate 35 domestic intimate partner violence-related murders. We're hoping so. I believe this year we're probably at 1 domestic violence homicide and 1 justified, is my recollection.
Okay.
So we're in March. I think the year is better. Hate to say that yet, but we don't want anyone killed this year, either way, justified or not.
Yeah,
and so hopefully it's going to be a much better year.
What does Stop the Loss need? Support, awareness, people to volunteer? What are y'all looking for?
I think all of that, just more awareness and getting the word out to all the other parishes, everybody working together with the judges, the community, healthcare providers, and just the community knowing domestic violence is a serious problem in every community, but particularly in Baton Rouge. And although we have more people arrested, particular folks are arrested, it occurs in every community. I don't care how rich or poor you are. Some just are more reported than others.
He is District Attorney Hillar Moore and Melanie Fields as well. Thank y'all so much for hopping on air today. Thank y'all so much for your time and for your efforts as well. That is going to do it for us today. We're back at it tomorrow. Patty G will be in. We will talk with Sergeant John Capola for Crime Stoppers and a whole lot more tomorrow right here on Talk 107.3 FM.
Thanks,
Thank
Brian.
you.
Oh, thank y'all. That was
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one. Take care, man.
Thank you so much.
Get some sleep.
Yeah.
Got to go to work now, huh?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, this is when the fun happens.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good one. See you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Love doing that segment. Oh, YouTube! I got to roll. Sorry, we've a Wednesday morning meeting that was supposed to be anyway. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for playing along. Don't forget to vote on the Twitter poll. Go follow me on Twitter. Vote in the Twitter poll. Is the State of the Union obsolete? We'll see you tomorrow.